Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. First item, please.
Roll call. Commissioners Deaver. Here. Derhovanesian. Here. Gregorian.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Chairperson Kevanian.
Here.
Item 2, consent item. The agenda for the March 15th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on March 9th, 2012. Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of regular meeting minutes from February 16th, 2012 at 2 p.m.
Any comments?
I move to approve, if there are any.
I second.
Commissioners Deaver? Yes. Derhovanesian? Yes. Gregorian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Chairperson Kevanian.
Yes.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At A, Man's in Humanity to Man short film competition presented by Zizette Mullins, Community Relations Coordinator.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Zizette Mullins, Community Relations Coordinator for City of Glendale. As you may know, that the city sponsors annual events. For the last 11 years, we have been sponsoring the Week of Remembrance events, and it consists of two different type of events. The first one that we usually have on April 24th is the Armenian Genocide event, and this is to commemorate the Armenian Genocide and to bring in a program to the community and bring awareness to the community of what had taken place back in 1915. I'll give you just a quick update on the genocide and where we're at as of today, and then I'll talk to you some more about the Man's in Humanity to Man event. The genocide event is going to take place, as I said, this year on Tuesday, April 24th at the Alex Theater. It's going to start at 7 p.m. We have about an hour and a half program, so we should be ending close to 8:30 p.m. We're very excited this year. We have really a couple of outstanding speakers. One is Eric Nazarian. He's a film producer, writer. He's going to show us his new movie, or the movie some of the community members have seen, Boyaz, I believe it's called. And he's going to walk us through how the film came about and how the process of making the movie. The other speaker we have coming to us from Canada, Jim, he's one of the parliament that actually was inspiration to pass an ordinance in Canada on the parliament to recognize the Armenian Genocide, something very similar to what they just did in France. And he's going to come and join us this year to speak about the process and what they've gone through. So this is going to be a very exciting event, and I hope everybody comes out and join us that evening. Right now, what I want to talk to you about is the Man's in Humanity to Man. We're very excited this year. The committee has come together to bring out something to the community, to bring in the youth and bring in some talent to express how people feel or express some information about genocides and what happens throughout the world. And I'm going to read some information that I think it's important for the public to know. This event is actually being put together in collaboration with the annual commemorative event committee, and it's going to be a short film competition. It's going to take place during the Week of Remembrance. The purpose of the contest is to commemorate Man's in Humanity to Man and to educate the public about the various inhumane events that have taken place in history, with the hope of preventing these from happening in the future. The contest is really targeting youth going to school, working in Glendale, even though we don't have an age limit, so we welcome anyone to attend. But this was designed to really encourage also the younger generation to learn about the inhumane acts that have taken place in the world. But I welcome anyone from all ages to submit their entries. The winning entries will be aired during the Man's in Humanity to Men event on April 26 at 6:30 p.m. in the Glendale Central Library. And also will be aired on GTV6, our Access channel. A financial award will be given to the top 3 winners. And the money, the awards are not really, I would say, significant. It's really about the education. We have a $300 first prize, $200 and $100, and this is just to help them with the production of the film that they put together. Entries should be made all in English. They should be no longer than 15 minutes, and entries should be submitted on the following categories. One is the mass killing and genocides, slavery, human trafficking, body organ trade. Additionally, the participants may explore the progress towards humanity. So not only just talk about the 3 topics that I mentioned, but also what progress has taken place so far to prevent inhumanities. Entries will be accepted from March 26th through April 2nd. The complete rules are on a website. If they go to the City of Glendale website, they should find the entry forms, find the application, and they will be able to submit it to our office, Management Services, 613 East Broadway, and all this information can be obtained on their website, or they can call my number, 818-548-4844. And this is something that the committee is very proud of. We will have a judging committee that will judge the entries that we will be receiving, and I know Commissioner De Hovhannissian, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at you and pronouncing your name. She's one of our committee members, and we're very pleased to have her because she's been very instrumental to the group and been very helpful representing the Arts and Culture Commission. So we do appreciate all the support that you have given us and all the participations in the past and all the different committees, and we appreciate her support as well on the committee. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I look forward to have as many people submitting entries and being participants in this really great project that we're doing this year. Thank you. Any questions? No? Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mullins. And also, if I may, I'd like to echo the words that Commissioner Darrow-Nesson has been, she's almost been a pillar to the MIM events, and she's consistently been there year after year, and I know she's a very big part of the committee. Next item, please.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Staff may refer the matter for investigation and report.
The first card I have is Annette Vartanian.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette Vartanian. I'm with the Community Development Department. I'm here to give you a quick update on the donation of Monumental, which is a sculpture by world-renowned artist Michael Kalish. Last year, Michael Kalish unveiled his sculpture called Monumental at Fire Station 21. It is dedicated to retired firefighter Bill Jensen and as a tribute to all firefighters. And just in case if you don't remember what the artwork looks like, how do I get it up on this? Oh, it is. Sorry. The first photo is Bill Jensen with his family, and the second one is with I think it's Battalion Chief Stefani. So it is a large sculpture. It is fabricated out of a fire truck, and as you can see, it depicts a large firefighter's turnout coat and helmet. It says Glendale Fire number 24, which was Bill Jensen's. Last year, Michael Kalish and the Travel Channel presented the sculpture and offered it for consideration by the Arts and Culture Commission for donation to the city. The commission recommended to council to approve accepting the art piece with the installation location to be determined by the council. Unless otherwise directed by council, staff's recommended location is outside in a public space at Fire Station 21, which is where the artist intended it to be installed. And just to remind you what Fire Station 21 looks like. So we're going to be walking the site with the artist. The first photo is the northwest corner of Oak and Columbus, and the second photo is along Columbus. If you're familiar with Fire Station 21, they do have some vintage fire trucks, so we're just going to work with the fire department and the artist to put it in the appropriate location so it is available for public viewing. And on Tuesday, staff will be bringing this item to council. They will be asked to approve the commission's recommendation to accept the sculpture and install it at Fire Station 21. Approve a contract with Exclusive Welding to transport and install the artwork. Exclusive Welding is actually an expert at public art installation and transportation. And finally, the council will be asked to approve a resolution to appropriate funding from the Urban Art Fund for the installation and transportation costs. And that is it. Once the council approves it, we'll be happy to come back and just give you an update to let you know when it'll be installed. But as soon as the council approves it, we have to go through the process to get it under the city's insurance and transfer the title and some of the bureaucratic stuff. But as of Tuesday, hopefully the council will approve accepting the artwork.
Just I wanted to mention that we are so grateful on behalf of the Arts and Culture Commission that you're so closely working with us and with our staff, and you're updating ourselves and the community of all the wonderful things that you guys are doing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any questions?
Where are the funds for this artwork coming, both installation and the artwork?
Well, the staff is recommending that the council appropriate funding from the Urban Art Fund to pay for the transportation and installation of the art piece.
Creation of artwork and the artist?
Oh, the artist has incurred all the costs, so it is a donation, so.
Donation by the
Yes.
artist? Mm-hmm. That's the point I wanted to
Okay.
get to, and encourage others to do that same. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Bartanian. The next card I have is Chuck Wyke.
Thank you, Chairperson Kibani and Commissioners and City staff. I'm Chuck Wyke, the Community Relations Manager at the Glendale Public Library. And I'm just going to give you a brief update of some upcoming events that you might be interested in. Let's see. First of all, really important, Judgment at Istanbul. Vakan Dadrian is the Director of Genocide Research at the Zorian Institute. He is coming to the library on Tuesday, April 3rd at 7 p.m. He's going to talk about his book, Judgment at Istanbul. This book is a prime source of legal evidence and authentic Turkish eyewitness testimony of the intent and the crime of genocide against the Armenians. The documents in this book show that wartime cabinet ministers, party leaders, and a number of others incriminated in these crimes were court-martialed by the Turkish military tribunals in the years immediately following World War I. This is a very important book. He's going to donate a copy to the library. It's big, it's lengthy, and there's a lot of information in there. So that's a real great upcoming program. The first time ever, we're calling it Independent Voices. We have 4 authors who have self-published their books. If you come on Wednesday, April 4th, you'll find out why they self-published. 2 of them are news press or Burbank leader writers. One is a playwright, the other one's actually an employee of a city. And they've worked on their own materials, and I thought it would be interesting, and Leon Mayer, with the Friends of the Library, thought it would be interesting to find out why in the world they went this route. Certainly it's much easier to do something like this now, in a way, but what does that mean? What does that mean to them as business people, as artists, whatever? So that'll be a good program. Glendale College's poet in residence, Bart Edelman. He's an instructor up there. He's coming back to the library with a new book on Sunday, April 29th. Always a good show with Bart. He makes sure that his class students get extra credit if they show up for his talks. Again, Ms. Mullins mentioned the film competition. That will be hosted at the Glendale Central Library. Finally, the real good stuff here, Brand Library and Art Center, we are closed. May 1st, those materials, many of the materials, will come down to the Central Library. And then we'll be open to the public again. Not quite all the CDs, but a good portion of them. Later this month, the Community Services and Parks Department will begin their art classes, because you may know some of their classes are located in the basement area of the Brand galleries. They're going to start those classes on March 26th, so now's the time to sign up for those classes. The Brand Library, again, will reopen in about a year and a half. long time. I think we'll get used to them at the Central Library. So I'm going to miss them. They do have a couple of events at the end of the month, and beginning of April, a couple of sales. I mentioned this the last time, books, CDs, LPs, furniture, and a lot of art prints. Various kinds, all sorts of things. They're getting ready for that. You may know that the Associates of Brand Library and Art Center recently donated $10,000 for the renovation of the Brand Library and Art Center. We're really proud of that. They're going to be at council next week. Finally, the Friends of the Library, besides their author events, they have a membership drive coming up in April. Right now they have close to 900 members, so they want to double that if possible. They'll accept a proclamation at National Library Week, which is April 8th through 14th. We will unveil a new library card at that time, so you'll want to visit your library that week. They are also having a book sale mid-April during Library Week. Friday and Saturday, the last line there, it says, Friends members get in early. So each day of that book sale, if you are a Friends member, you can get in an hour early and really pick to your heart's content over the great books they have, the donated books. So we have a number of contact places, Facebook. Brand Library has a site if you want to keep up on the renovation. GlendalePublicLibrary.org is our main website, and I hope you'll all take a look at it. Any questions?
Mr. White, where is the sale of these books, CDs, and artwork going to take place?
The Brand Library sale will take place in the gallery. They've cleared out the last show. They'll move all that stuff in there, and you'll be able to get in through the gallery entrance and go to that sale.
So the location is on Mountain, at the gallery, and Brand Library at the Mountain Avenue?
Yes, absolutely. For the Friends of the Library sale, that's in the back of the building at the loading dock.
Again, at the same location, but at the back of the...
Back of the Central Library at the loading dock.
Oh, at the Central Library?
Two different sales.
Okay, all right.
We're spring cleaning, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the next card I have is Michael Sheehan.
Mr. White was my first recruit for the project at the gas station, if it ever comes to pass. Since I saw you last month at the suggestion of Mr. Grant, I've done a bunch of research. And have come up with hopefully all of the answers that were required of me when I initially made the suggestion for putting art into the gas station when I met with Ripsme and Mr. Duran and Terry in January. So what you're looking at is something that I won't read to you because I'm pretty sure that you can all read yourselves. And I'm just here to thank you very much for your warm reception last time and to keep you in the loop as best I can as to whether or not we can move forward with this project. So, with my fingers crossed and with Mr. White as my first recruit for making a piece of art, I've lowered the number of actual art pieces from the many that I was planning on to 60, and that's described in the writing that I've given to you, which will make it a lot easier for me especially, and will hopefully make the event something that will be interesting to look at. I met with the Glendale Art Association last night and practically filled up my calendar with people who are interested in participating. And so that's my report, and I thank you very much.
Questions?
I have one comment. Thanks for putting all of that time into that, and I look forward to taking a look at it. And I think it's great, too, that you're reaching out to other arts organizations and in the community as part of this overall process. I think that's a really important piece of it.
Thank you.
Sure, Ryan.
I also would like to thank you for your persistence and for your perseverance on this project. And we really need community members like you to, if they have a goal and if they have a project, by being persistent and not giving up, eventually it will come up. So I'm really hoping that this July we will see this project going, and hopefully it will be much easier path for you and the others for the future.
Thank you. I would like to comment that I do hope that this will be a city project, not a Michael Sheehan project. I'm just the sand in the oyster.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
Item
Oh, I'm
five.
sorry.
I believe
Before
we're
we get
going
to the
out
next,
of order.
before we get to the next item, staff had asked me to switch the action item and the reports. So because we have a few guests for our report, so in order to get them out in a promptly fashion.
So I will read 5B, reports and information only. Status report regarding Riverwalk Public Art Project, presented by Katie Cupper and Robert Rossoff.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. I'm John Pearson. I'm the city's project manager for the Riverwalk project. Riverwalk has been under construction for some time. We're anticipating an opening in the fall. Riverwalk, along with work that's being done by a number of other cities and agencies along the river, is part of a process that over the next couple of decades is going to transform the Los Angeles River from a storm drain into a greenway. The nonprofit organization Northeast Trees has been our design build consultant and contractor and partner in the process of giving form and substance to our vision. And they've been aided by a number of other people, two of whom are here today, the artists who've been working on the art project element of Riverwalk, Katie Cupper and Robert Rossoff. They've been working with our art advisory committee, which Commissioner Hovanesian has been assisting with in the development of the project, and they're going to give a brief presentation this afternoon on the art project that they've come up with. I meant to mention Teresa Rossoff, the project manager from Northeast Trees, is also here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and staff. Thank you very much for inviting us tonight. I'm Robert Rossoff. This is Katie Cupper, obviously. Glendale Narrows Riverwalk Spillway Art Installation is we'll talk about. And the concept, the design conceives the Glendale Narrows Spillway as a map of the present. The spillway landscape art is a central feature of a three-part concept referencing the past, present, and future of the area.
Mr. Rossoff, may I interrupt? Can you speak a little bit louder?
Oh, sure.
We want to make sure people at home can hear you.
Closer to the mic, please.
Okay. This is a map line of the LA River. The spillway is right there. This is a concept artwork for the project. And we see the circle of reflection at this river spillway plateau is what we've been calling it. And it's a map of the present, so this is where we are today. Thanks. And we are still here. This is some of the inspiration that we've been taking into consideration. And this saying comes from the Native American Tongva, or Gabrielino Indians who lived in large settlements along the high ground areas of the Glendale Narrows. And it reminds us of our heritage it reminds us that our heritage is built on individual contributions and environmental awareness. And the Los Angeles River is the real story here, and the river is what made it possible for people to settle a semi-arid country. And fast forward many years, and we find a 6-mile segment with dense vegetation and more variety in plant and animal life than anywhere else along the river. And this good fortune is due to the water table being too close to the surface for concrete paving. So, the new Los Angeles River activities, newly formed pocket parks, bike paths, and works of art along the river acknowledge this treasure for the community and reminds us of the long lifespan of the river's embrace. And the circle of reflection at the river spillway, the spillway is a great place to view the river and the mountains. right beyond, that's the river just on the other side of that wall. And this is a plan view of the spillway and the wall viewing area. There will be on this map line in the ground, right there will be Glendale, and where that star is will be a diamond in honor of the city. The spillway wings, or what we call wings, that is were originally built in the 30s by the Army Corps of Engineers for flood control. And there is a ramp into the circle of reflection bench and artifact wall. We'll get into that in just a moment. And you can rest on, maybe you can sit on some of these larger rocks we'll be putting in. Of course, this is all just an artist's conception, but it's pretty close to what we have envisioned. Right here is a wall, a retaining wall, and here are your benches right in front of it. Egret images move along the wings of the spillway in a graphic of a stop motion reflecting the flight of birds in the river below. Since the egret is the symbol for the mascot, if you will, for the LA River, I thought we'd choose that. And they'll be on each one of these wings to make them look nice. And this is our 2 8-foot concrete benches that's really disguising the drain grate that's behind it. And you can sit on these benches and view a wall that has artifacts have been embedded in. And it's kind of hard to see in this slide, but there they are in that wall. Circular viewing wall in front of the benches will be designed to inspire park visitors to reflect upon their place in time. It will be clad with concrete panels containing impressions of the artifacts donated by people in the community of the present. In between these 2 benches, I should like to point out, are some really lovely Zen-like rocks. There are 3 of them in that corner. It's a little close-up of the wall and what people will be contributing in any of these categories. Small items that we can have made impressions of and cast into panels that will be put up on the wall. And this summer we will make 1 central artifact panel, and it will be designed and constructed with donations gathered from those working on the Riverwalk Park this summer. The donations are artifacts, not money. So I just want to be clear on that. But I think that's about it. Is there any questions that we can answer? If you'd like to go back and look at any of the slides, I'd be happy to.
Just a question. So far, how much of the work has been accomplished? We are still in the planning process? Or?
Yes, but we're pretty much very close to the end of the planning process, and we're lining up the construction subcontractors. So we're very close.
And the deadline is, assumingly, the deadline for the project, for this phase of the project?
In roughly end of June, we're figuring it should be all intact and constructed.
Great. Just, we want it to be done so we'll come and see and enjoy.
We want you there. We can't wait.
Commissioner Diebert?
Could you go back, because I did all this detail. Oh, go forward. One more. With a list. Could you explain the panels, this piece of it to me
Sure.
a little bit more?
Sure. We'll have a retaining wall. It's a semicircular wall. And on that wall we will have about 24 inches by, 18 to 24 inch concrete panels. And those panels will have, what we will do is we'll have artifacts that have been contributed, small ones, that we can make an impression out of. And so that's an approximation of what the impression, as you see in the lower left-hand corner, that would be somebody's pocket watch, something that means something to you. And we'll have, different categories, transportation, technology, entertainment, and so each panel could just contain those things. There might even be a panel for artifacts that are found on that site, on the site that we've been working in. Here's One of our first contributions, got it in here somewhere, is a, well, I had it. Yes. This is a railroad spike. So that could be embedded in the concrete, taken out, and you'll have the impression of a railroad spike. It's part of the, history.
The reason it's called the Circle of Reflection is it's an area to reflect about who we are in the present and have references to kind of an archaeological sensibility so that we would see ourselves as part of the stream of people that have come along beside the river and how somebody will look at us in the future and that sort of thing. And then again, it's set within a reference of past, present, and future. Those three rocks can be symbolic of past, present, and future. And we're also pulling from a lot of Tongva representations and the ideas that they've had with working with stones, and the stone representing a wish or sort of a prayer that each person would have.
Did you guys discuss about the time capsule that is going to be made underneath the bench?
That's part of a different feature that's not happening this summer.
And what about the different impressions made on the wings, that from one side is going to be the birds and the other side, that's also for the next phase, or is it the first?
We're hoping that we're working on towards that on this phase.
Yes.
And so far the egrets, the birds are certainly going to be there, and hopefully we'll have enough funds to do the horses, but we're still...
The bird part, could you elaborate a little bit why we want to have the birds there and what do they represent? Because that's very important. Every little item that you see, our artists have really thought well, and they have made different kind of significance to everything that is taken from the nature to be represented. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. Yeah, let's go find that in here. There. Well, what we have decided to do so far is to sandblast all the old paint. Those wings, they've been painted since the 1930s, and there's quite a lot of paint built up, and sandblast them down to a nicer color. From there are several ways we can get these images onto those wings. There's using metal, using line as a line form or as a solid form like it shows here, or sandblasting. And right now I'm doing a whole lot of shoe leather to find the best way, the most economic, most cost-effective, and the most beautiful for the funds that we do have available. So yes, it's like a stop motion animation, and the idea is to, as you walk along those wings, you will get the feeling of that bird in flight as you see it evolve from wing to wing. And then at the far wall, you'll have a couple of birds that actually are broken free and they're flying off. So that's the narrative, and we're hoping to make it look as beautiful as possible.
Commissioner Lee?
Just for the public, where exactly is this location?
This location is on the corner of
Garden and Sonora, I think it is, right when you enter the park.
Yeah,
it's right there to the right.
Oh, Paula, that's right. Garden and Paula, and it's right near the Equestrian Center. It's adjacent to the Equestrian Center. But if you go down Sonora, you'll get there.
The
River Walk.
River Walk.
Equestrian Center, yes.
And in other words, it is behind the Disney and the Channel 7. It's between the backside of the Disney and Channel 7 and the river.
Yes.
It's a very interesting location. Yes, DreamWorks, yes. It is a very interesting, narrow location, but it's going to make it extremely beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And the river is exceptionally beautiful in that spot,
Yeah, in that
particularly. So.
Yeah, it's really, really, really lovely.
And the idea of the birds is basically because there are lots of birds. Those who are very, busy with the nature and etc., they really are very proud, the neighborhood. They are very proud of the birds that they exist and they fly over in that area. That's why they wanted to make sure, because the homeowners were present in that committee, they wanted to make sure that the birds which make such a significance and they know the specific birds. I'm very bad with the name of all different kinds of them. So they wanted to make sure that that is presented there because it brings them the concept of home. And it's a wonderful opportunity for the neighborhood because right now people kind of, that's the equestrian area, but people dump it, they use it as a kind of an area that is not being really used or well kept. But with the projects that is at hand, it's going to become a glorious, beautiful place. It's somewhere to go and visit, to enjoy, to meditate, to relax, and to be within the nature and the horses and equestrian and etc. So there is going to, even for bike rides, I think there's going to be a little kind of a path for people who want to enjoy nature. So it's a small area, but it's like a little jewel. It was through this project I came to discover this part of the world. Otherwise, I was not even aware that it exists and that little behind the certain areas. So to me, it makes all the bridges made on San Fernando. Now it makes some sense because we are going to end up into this beautiful little heaven. So, and I was talking to our conductor and musician chairperson that hopefully one day the second phase under the bridge, under the freeway, we can create some kind of a musical presentation area.
One point to mention, too, that unique spot of the Glendale Narrows has some of the most unusual and a very expansive number of birds. I think it's 104 different species or something, so it's a huge amount, and it's an important area for people that, are bird watching.
Yeah, lots of them have been going down there for a long time, and so they're happy to see this, certainly.
That just gave me an idea, but thank you for mentioning that.
Just to double check too, is that on the LA side or the Glendale side, or
this is on the
right
Glendale
on the border?
side. It's on the Glendale side. You're looking at Griffith Park on the other side of the river.
Correct.
So yeah, you're on the Glendale side.
Did you ever think of asking LA? Because Councilman Labange would probably maybe pitch in on something, possibly.
That's a terrific idea. Yeah, because actually, maybe a piece of it is on the LA side. I'm not exactly sure, but that would be a good idea.
I'm sure John is Mr. Pearson is very busy with that part because part of this project, before we got into the meetings, he has been into doing all the legwork and hours and days and months, and he would come and explain the detail. I was fascinated how much work is taken because sometimes artists or people come and do something or they have expectations. They don't know how much legwork, how much legal procedure takes place and staff time to be able to make negotiations. And meanwhile, I would like to see if we could introduce our Northeast representative here as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
There's still several questions. Commissioner Leo, okay? Commissioner Gregorian?
Mr. Pearson wants to explain about the
I'm sorry.
LA part.
Just wanted to mention that we have coordinated a great deal with the City of Los Angeles. Councilman Labange has been to the site several times, as have a number of other elected officials. And we frequently go to their meetings, and they frequently come to our site or things that we're doing. We eventually hope to have a bridge across the river into Griffith Park, and that will certainly be a partnership project with the City of Los Angeles.
Commissioner Gregorian?
This is a conceptual phase yet, correct? Am I right?
Correct. We've got plan drawings and construction drawings underway, but yes, you're looking at the concept drawings right now.
If I may make a comment.
Sure.
First of all, I'm extremely excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's just absolutely a great idea. I'm sure it's going to be a very nice project at the end. The only little comment that I will make, and the concern in inverted commas I would tell you, is what I see of the presentation and the plans, there are too much concrete and too much, materials which are not so-called natural in that sense. And since we are going to kind of rehab and have a natural area in there, both for walks, for birds, for everything else, I wonder if you could consider in the future development of the design to kind of try to minimize this concrete, inhuman, cold material into something which is a lot more natural. You mentioned the American Indians. Their relationship with the nature was phenomenal and kind of well known. I don't want to get into that discussion here, but it seems to me that with all this man-made, especially concrete, wings and benches and circular walls and things, that kind of for me, it kind of defeats the main purpose of this, the connection between man and nature. So my point is, as I said, and I know that some of these wings have to be strong enough to be able to withstand pressure and whatever, but overall, if you would look into, try to minimize this, non-natural materials into as much as natural materials as possible.
I understand, and a point well taken, and very thank you for pointing that out. And I'd like just to say that it's an actual working spillway. It's those concrete walls, the wings. There's only so much we can do. They have to remain, as well as that far wall on either side of it. And the idea of the birds is to sort of naturalize or humanize it a little bit as best we can, and to take that hard edge, as you noticed, that hard edge off of it. So we'll keep that in mind as we go forward.
Yeah, there is all kinds of ways of kind of, as you put it correctly, humanizing those walls. Yeah. Like, there might be some kind of a wood or stone fascia to it, or there might be some artwork added to it into the sense that it's, again, kind of conceals all this brutal concrete and, all kinds of other great ideas that I'm sure you can come up with. The overall idea is just to kind of humanize it, if you like, or naturalize it, if you like.
Good point.
Commissioner Grigorian, let me interject. Based on the meetings, of course, you need to correct me, because the presentation here, they try to come with, explain the ideas within the short period of time. There are lots of vegetations. They have been very meticulous about using different parts of nature. Even our artists were arguing in the meeting that even the pathway should be of little pieces of natural mineral stones or whatever that come from nature in different colors and etc. And the back of the only concrete that is added is the benches, and that is for the upkeep purposes, to keep it clean and etc. And then the wings, they are already there. So to humanize it kind of, or to make it more warm and friendly, that's why they are adding to it that kind of the birds. But they are not, besides the benches, there are not any concrete areas. The rest is all green, and the rest is all little kind of pebbles and stones, which is not normal pebbles that you find in the stores, because it was very new to me that they are getting all these natural kind of things from nature, and then they have to use stabilizer to keep it in place. So truly, they are very close to whatever the native Indians would have liked and the future would think of us. The point is well taken, but it doesn't show here.
But I understand all of this, and let's not get into a debate in here. Just the point was made that, this, the more we humanize it and naturalize it, the better, and I'm sure it's a work in progress. So you are going to have this point in mind. And, as again, these concretes can be easily concealed by some vegetation and plantation, as it was rightly pointed out, and other materials. So basically that was the point. And, we all agree on this, but otherwise it's a wonderful project. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited about it, I can't even tell you how much.
Oh, thanks. And we're working closely with Northeast Trees, and they really know vegetation. Katie here is a landscape artist herself, and a landscape designer herself. So yeah, very meticulous, as Arlette was explaining, about the vegetation and making things just very beautiful, very colorful, good to the eye, and humanized, as we agree on. So thank you for the points. It's very good.
Thank you for listening to this comment.
I think a quick example of what the Commissioner is saying is, for example, stamping. Maybe stamp the concrete, stamp it like a log, so make the whole thing look like a log set, a woody feel, and maybe paint it brownish in that essence, in disguising the concrete.
Exactly.
I think that's what
I think that's what you're saying, and I think the color and the vegetation are going to really take the edge off. And we're excited about it a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Deaver, one last comment.
Sorry, I don't mean to extend it on, but actually, it's all the talking, I got the chance to think. Just one question. I can't, because I'm not familiar with the area and I'm not involved with any of this. How large is that space? Like, to my point is that it seems like a really great opportunity to be able to take in the nature of the river, which I think is really difficult to do in the city for photography, for plein air, drawing, painting, things like that. So I'm just wondering if there are gathering opportunities for small, classes, things like that in that area, or if that's not something.
That's a fantastic idea, and as a painter myself, I will be the first to be there. But yeah, it's 163 feet from wall to wall, and 29 and a half feet from where the grade stops and it flattens out to the back wall. It's huge and flat, and we're just going to try to enliven it with color and images. And sure, that'd be great. It's a great place to have classes and to do some plein air drawing and painting. And I'll be the first to do it.
You can lead the charge.
I will.
Terrific.
Those numbers again, 163 feet by?
29 and a half. That's the spillway. That's the big flat spillway. And our circle of reflection, the wall with the benches, is just off of that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we cover all the bases here, and that was just a report. But again, thank you, and we wish the best of luck, and you have all of our support. Next item, please.
Next item, review and make new recommendations for the master list of potential judges and appoint commissioner member liaison to the selection panels for the 2012 Diamond Awards for Achievement in the Arts.
For this, I go to my colleagues.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chairperson Kevanyan, Commissioners. As you can see, this report has two parts. We will be asking you to review the master list of the potential judges and then make new recommendations. The second part of the report is asking to appoint two commissioners to the selection panel groups for this year's Diamond Awards. As you can see, attached to this report is the master list of the potential judges, and there are more than 80 names nominated from the community for their expertise. And some of these names, those who already have served in the past, they won't be able to serve again this year. So just make a note of that. If you already have if you had a chance to review the report and have new names, new nominations, please go ahead and do that now. Then we can move on to the second part of the report. One more thing very quickly. The role of the selection panel, the judges, is to review the nominations and make a recommendation. After their final recommendation will come to the full body of the Arts and Culture Commission for approval. I see that there are some questions.
Commissioner Gurgain?
Where did we decide that whoever has served in the panel before cannot serve again? Did we have that as a written policy?
We don't have as a policy. We don't have a policy for this.
So
project.
why restrict that?
There was a notation in the past, back in 2007 or 5. You have done this in the past twice before,
Yes.
and that was the notation that people who have served in the past cannot serve again. However, I'm decided
I'm
not...
sorry. I'm sorry. People who have served in the past cannot serve again, right? That's what you are saying. What kind of, who made that decision?
Most probably it was... Yes, you want to help me here?
Is that just a normal practice, or?
My understanding is that historically that's been the practice. If the commission doesn't want to follow that practice, I don't see anything that precludes you from renominating a past participant if that's what you so desire. But we don't have any specific written rules and regulations or guidelines on how to select panelists. We're just going by past history, what the practice has been. So it's up to you.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification, because the way you said it, I thought there was something, and if it is past practice, we have had only 2 events. So it's not that historically, since beginning of time we've had this.
Actually, this will be your 4th Diamond Award. 4th Diamond Award, and it was done 3 times before this, and it's been practiced in the past.
Okay.
I don't know, somewhere the commission probably has agreed to do that.
So is this one of the things that we are going to discuss now and see if we are going to preclude some certain people in here? And let me make it very clear. I really have nobody particular in mind, and I don't know. It's just I want to make sure that the process and the manner that we select the panelists are very clear and concise and known to everybody. So,
even though it's said that these people who have served in the past will not be able to serve again, I thought it should be we should let all the names on the list for the future use or whatever the commission will decide in the future. At this time, we can't actually make any decision about the selection of the judges since we don't have all the nominations. The final nomination, the selection panel will be selected based on the art criteria disciplines we will be receiving hopefully soon.
that was actually my second question. Since we haven't completed the list of the artwork or artists or, the nominations, excuse me, wouldn't it be kind of more practical or wiser that if we see what kind of categories or not categories, but what kind of nominations we have, and then we select the panelists based on the nominations?
Well, the commission is not going to select the panelists. It will be done by staff. Your job is today just to add new nominations to this list. Staff has been reviewing the nominations based on their disciplines, will select the judges, and will form two groups of judges to make the recommendations to the commission. That's
so
how it's
basically
been
today
done
we
in
are
the
not
past.
really finalizing or selecting the judges. What we are doing is saying either this list is good or we are adding or not, or eliminating somebody from this list. Is that what we are saying?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And actually, we've never decided the judges because it's based on availability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
just clarifying.
Because
Therefore, each group of judges will, one of the commissioners will be appointed to the judges group in order for you to observe the process, to support the nominations, and bring back to the commission some comments that you will have.
so today we are deciding that
You will
commissioner.
decide the liaison for these two groups of judges.
Okay.
We are in the process of still accepting nominations. Hopefully, by May 25th, we will have enough nominations to close that submission period and start selecting the judges and forming the judges group.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Deaver?
Since I haven't been through this process before, what is the final count of the judge, like how many judges are on the final panels?
Okay, we will be having 3 judges for each group, and then at the liaison commissioner, and staff. So it will be a group of 5 people for each group, each selection panel.
And for your information, I think at one point we were recommending 5 judges and 1 liaison and 1 staff member, but I think the 5 judges were kind of too many. It really depends on how many nominations we get. So I think we are open between 3 and 5 judges for each panel.
How many
But I
nominations?
yes, but I remember when I was the liaison with for the very first Diamond Awards, the number of judges were 3. Actually, we were 5, but then we reduced it to 3.
Okay. I remember I've done that in the past, and it was 3. It worked out very, very nicely.
Mr. Durant, sorry.
Secretary Valiant, just to clarify, and there are only 2 panels, right?
Yes,
Yes.
2 panels.
Okay, one panel to evaluate 3 categories, and second to evaluate the second 3 categories, right?
Right.
Yes.
Since Commissioner Deaver this is your first time, I would like to clarify that section as well. So one of the groups will be evaluating, reviewing the nominations for the artists, young artists, and art organizations categories. The second group will review only the lifetime achievement and community partner, business community partner, individual categories. This way, each group will be evaluating 3 categories, and will have enough time to really analyze the submitted materials and make a final decision.
And my another question I had was, I understand that the final selection of the judges will be made by staff. Is there any criteria or goals that are part of the process, say, for instance, in terms of making sure it's a diverse pool, kind of across all sectors in terms of their backgrounds or age or neighborhoods and businesses and artists, so that it fully reflects the community involvement in it? I'm just curious if there's a precedent for that or a process.
I think, if I understood you correctly, you're asking if the community is involved in this process?
No, I'm asking if the final selected group, so you have your master
You mean
list
a
at some
selection
point.
panel?
The selection panel,
Judges.
the 3 to 5, or the 3 or so that might come from the public sector. I'm wondering if there is any criteria or precedent by which the selection is made that ensures a broad, diverse representation on the panels.
Commissioner Durant, do you want to clarify that?
Based on the past experience and the ones that I was involved with, obviously the staff and the commission always tries to be as representative of the community as possible. However, sometimes based on the nominations, there is a certain discipline that needs certain expertise in there. And usually that is the prevalent criteria, so to speak. So I remember very well the very first Diamond Awards that we were doing. There was, among all the other artists, there was one conductor who was really an excellent conductor. And the panel of artists, the 3 of them, one of them was a musician, one of them was a painter, and the third one, I don't remember who they were, the judges. But because of that conductor, the musician judge, and he actually pointed out certain very interesting points about the nominees of whoever was in the music category. And eventually this conductor won because of the kind of speciality of the issue in there. So I don't know if that answers your questions or not, but I think the judges definitely need to be as trained and as professional in the categories as possible to make sure that the most deserving nominee wins, so to speak. So and sometimes in some categories, it's not easy to find although we try to involve the community as much as possible, but sometimes that is, if we try to be as diverse as possible, we might kind of dilute the, the expertise of the panel. So, am I answering your question?
If I can add, I think I understand Commissioner Deaver's point, but looking at the list of judges that have participated in the past, you see that there is a fairly diverse set of individuals. So I don't think we're cornered even in a geographical location, one part of Glendale, or in an art field in one particular art. So, and I think, to reiterate what Commissioner Gregorian just said, we will look at the applicants and the applications and see what would be more appropriate. And I am guessing when staff has this, they're going to bring it back to us for final approval. Is that correct? In terms of the two panels of judges?
Sure.
When the staff has
I don't
selected?
remember that. That's what we did last time, but if the commission would like to have the final list of the judges, then we'll do that.
Commissioner Deaver, I have a question. To understand your question, were you looking for something like a rubrics, the way, let's say, Glendale Unified had that for the 3 artwork that they were going to choose, they had different kind of criteria in detail to make sure what is expected? Is that a kind of a rubric or information that you think there needs to be?
It's not, but actually, that would be like a second question that I would have, but that's getting more into the judging criteria, so that the consistency across the board for each of these categories. I think my initial question was relating more to, I say that it is a very diverse group across all sectors in this list, but if we're narrowing it down to 6 people, 3 for one group and 3 for the other, I understand, like, if you're maybe looking at an artist and their body of work and their contribution, you might need somebody who specifically knows maybe that art form is almost kind of bordering on jurying. But if you're looking at a contribution of a business or an organization to the overall community, then my expectation, I guess, would be to ensure that you have people that are not only familiar with that work, but that are representative of Glendale in general, and maybe even strategically, in that we want to draw the community more into our arts community. And maybe by strategically picking people and inviting people to participate in this who might not have done so in the past, might be an opportunity to bring some further collaboration and community network to the process.
So that sounds like the safest way then to do that is then to, after staff has made basically a draft list of these selection committees, then to bring it back to the commission so that we can have a final say and a final review. That help? Okay. Commissioner Lee?
To move us along, my recommendations would be maybe some of our politicians that represent us in the area. For example, either Supervisor Antonovich or one of his staff that specializes in the culture, arts and culture field, or recommend somebody from Senator Carol Liu's office or Mr. Gatto's office. Either them or, for them to see who the representative is.
And what would the purpose of that be?
No, to put on the master list of judges, because they represent the community. Or actually, like, for example, Supervisor Antanovich's office represents the entire section of the county that he represents. So out of that, Glendale is part of his territory. Thus meaning their representatives or themselves are always in our community and is aware of artists, whether whatever is in their field.
It is quite good to involve the elected officials and their offices in the community issues, but into a judging panel, I'm not quite sure, but hopefully when the Diamond Awards come up, we will notify all the elected officials, and hopefully they will be represented there at the event, main event, with their certificates and encouragements and whatever else there is. But I'm not quite sure the judging panels really need to include the elected officials' offices. I'm not quite sure about that.
Okay, because, for example, I'm looking here, for a consultant to Fabian Nunez, a former Parks Commissioner.
I think his name is there because of because he's a community member and a former Parks Commissioner and quite active in the community. And that, again, the staff might clarify this, but I don't think the reason he's there is because he is a consultant to Assemblyman Fabian Nunez. I don't think that is why he's there. So probably somebody, let's say Rita Hajimanukyan from Supervisor Antonovich's office, as a community member, might be here as Rita Hajimanukyan, but not necessarily representing Supervisor Antonovich. So, that's the way I interpret it. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but I don't think I'm wrong.
Well, as you can see, this list was originally made back in 2002. It's been updated every 4 years, every time they've been doing the Diamond Awards for Achievement in the Arts. And I do recognize almost 50% of the names in person. I know these names, but the other 50 I don't recognize. And I'm still very confident that this is a good list from the community representatives, and some of them are really experts in their field. And as soon as we have the nominations, I think we should focus more on how to get those nominations. As of now, we have only 3 or 4 nominations.
Mrs. Marashan, I was thinking, I don't know how it works so far for the nominations, but from what I understood, what Commissioner Deaver was saying, to include or involve, collaborate with the community organizations and businesses. I don't know how it needs to be done. It's up to discussion here, but if we would have different organizations to nominate an artist or somebody that they think that they have been phenomenal in the community or in the business world. So that way they would be included, not as judges, but as people who want to nominate people for this Diamond Awards. I don't know what you think, commissioners.
I'm sorry, are you suggesting that the nominators be included in the judging process?
No. I was saying that to make it inclusive, instead of having judges being the politicians, it is to ask politicians and businesses to nominate people and to explain why they are choosing this organization or that individual for being important in the community and doing artistic work and etc. So that way they would feel that they are part of what happens in the city and their say is also important.
That's actually a very good suggestion, and it brings an idea to me that maybe we should really, especially for the community partner businesses, maybe we should really contact the Glendale Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Merchants Association and the Armenian American Chamber of Commerce, and I think there is a Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, where we could, maybe they could assist us with, at least in that category and others.
I want to make a comment that we're kind of getting off topic at this point. I appreciate my colleagues' enthusiasm, but let's return back to the actual action item. And again, we have a whole comment section that you guys can talk about.
Okay, if you like to go back and fill out the form that I just passed around, the nomination form, you're welcome to do that. You can fax it back to me when you're ready. We still have time for adding new names to the list. However, you're welcome to start appointing new liaison to the group of selection panel, 2 groups of selection panel. So we need 2 commissioners appointed to the selection panels.
So we have a selection panel and then a judging panel. Is that what you're doing?
No,
That's one-
it's the
one
same
and the
thing,
same.
selection panel or judges panel, wherever you would like. I'm
at-
sorry,
at
I've
this
been
point-
using back and forth, selection panel and judges panel, it's the same thing.
So at this point, I think we're looking for for liaisons.
Liaisons,
to the
yeah,
judging
you can
panels.
volunteer for it, or you can appoint someone.
I would like to appoint Commissioner Derhovanesyan to the as one of the liaisons to the selection panel.
Which one?
Number 1.
Not to the organizations, but to the actual artwork and
That's already going to be
Individuals.
that can already be up to
commissioners to
the
decide.
commissioners to decide which one wants to take.
If you
Well,
accept the
well, I
nomination,
mean-
I second you.
Well, I mean, either way, the liaison has no vote, so
No, that's true.
they're there just to make sure everything's on the up and up.
And for the second one?
Well, I can make both recommendations if my colleagues feel it appropriate, but I mean, I would hate to do that.
You could recommend, and then we'll...
I would volunteer if nobody else.
Commissioner Lee wants to, I mean, that depends on the rest of my colleagues. I'm not the sole decision maker, so.
Unless Commissioner Deaver wants.
Would you like to be on the second panel?
I don't need to be. I've
You've got enough.
Quite
You need to
involved.
be or you don't want to?
I want to.
What about Commissioner Gregorian?
If my colleagues nominate me for one, I will take it. If not, I will pass it.
Okay.
I would also be happy to serve in any of the panels. So
Great.
So it's
Mr.
even
Durant.
getting more complicated now.
Mr. Chair, for the record, we should probably make a formal motion, second it, and then take a vote.
Right.
Well, let's get
Well,
the
I-
nominations first.
I can't do that to begin with, so I rely on my colleagues to do that.
Correct.
So it sounds like Commissioner Derhovanesyan is, she wants to participate, and then the judge number 2, or sorry, liaison number 2 position is open for debate. So,
We'll do eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
Oh, no,
I don't mind if you want to be on that. That's fine with me.
like I said, I'll volunteer if nobody else wants to do it.
Okay.
So if
I-
you choose so, I'm okay with it.
I'm taking a speech analysis course, and so this means that if no one wants it, then then Commissioner Lee will take it.
But
So,
since-
so,
Right.
so if anybody does not want, and I'm looking on this side because it seems like
I would like to nominate Commissioner Gregorian to.
I will second that.
Okay. Sold.
so now we need somebody to make a motion of both.
Okay, I will make the motion to have our 2 liaisons being Commissioner Divertisnian and Commissioner Gregorian.
Okay. And there needs to be a second.
Second.
And make sure that your motion includes the panels also, which one you are nominating to. Ms. Derhovanesyan to selection panel 1 and Mr. Gregorian to selection panel 2.
Well, that one,
Well,
he said to leave it up to
doesn't
you
have
guys.
to
You
be
guys
decided.
decide when you
we
guys
don't
get
have to
there.
designate that
We'll
right now.
work it with
Really
you.
doesn't
All right.
need to be.
That's
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Derhovanesyan?
Yes.
Gregorian?
yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Chairperson Kevanyan.
Yes.
Next, item 6, commission and staff comments.
Okay. I don't see any hands for the first time. Commissioner Deaver?
All right, I'll jump in. I just want to thank all the arts organizations that participated in our roundtable discussion a couple of weeks ago now. Has it been that long already? And I think it was, from my perspective, I thought it was a really great turnout, and appreciated the energy and the questions and the thoughts that were brought forth in that. And I hope that dialogue continues, whether being led by the community itself or in some other capacity in the future. But I do want to thank the community for stepping up for that. and to staff for all the time that was put into to organizing and helping for coordinating all of that. It was terrific. I know it was done quite quickly, but I personally was really happy with that. Thank you.
Just as a quick follow-up, are we going to have a report on that?
Yes,
Okay.
next month.
Just making sure.
The location was beautiful too. Staff did a good job. It was a good turnout. Lots of people came. It was wonderful. And the location, for the first time I had visited the adult center. It's beautiful. City builds beautiful areas. Really, I mean, it was like a luxury hotel or spa, kind of, for all the exercise machines and outdoor activities. It's wonderful to be involved in the community, and we would love to invite community to come to such events, even if you're not an art organization, just to come and see what happens and what is being done is wonderful. Our staff had a beautiful kind of a reception thing ready for community. And as Commissioner Deaver said, people were very enthusiastic and very eager, and we are so grateful that the director of the department, Jess Duran, was there too, and he was keeping an eye to make sure everything is up to par and all the promises made are doable. And when you deal with a lot of artists, there needs to be a kind of a wisdom behind to make sure that things are under control, and he was doing that. So thank you very much, Mr. Duran.
I tried.
You did a good job.
Also took a lot of notes.
Yes,
Brandon.
yes.
Any other comments?
No, I have a personal. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because mine is not a commission. Just I wanted to make an announcement.
Just wanted to ditto everybody else's comments. I really enjoyed myself. I want to thank again all the participants that came out. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, so I'm hoping we'll have a very good report and have more of these to include the public to give us direction.
On that note, as far as the business part is taken care of, just wanted to announce that personally I have lost a very dear friend last night, and she was a great community member, a great family member. Her name is Miss Rima Abedi Saverian. She was a CPA, but she was very involved with all the cultural organizations. She was a lady who was promoting art in the community. She was involved wherever youth were engaged or involved. She would sponsor and do all different activities. And when I went to visit her in the hospital, the lady at the reception said that in our history of St. Joseph, we have never had a patient who was so popular. It was so wonderful to see that she was so well appreciated. Being a CPA is such a kind of a interesting thing that she died on the day that they called the Pi Day, because it was March 14th, it was 3.14, so she died on a mathematical conjunction as well. So I want to give my sympathy, and I think Commissioner Grigorian also knows her very well, to her family and to the community. Thank you.
If I may add to that, I knew Ms. Abedi for as long back as possible. I was in the same school we graduated the same year. I know her for a very long time. She was absolutely great person, good, positive person. She really fought with her illness like a very brave soldier, and I would really like to recommend that we adjourn this meeting when it comes in her memory, please. She was a great person. It's a big loss for this community, and I am shocked since I heard this news last night.
We will adjourn in her memory. Any other comments?
Thank you.
I forgot what. I was so emotionally taken by my colleagues. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Oh yes, I was going to thank Michael Sheehan for his very nice letters, and I believe all of us received those letters, for his continuation of wanting to do something positive for the community, and very nice letters thanking all of us. And I just wanted to mention that so that the community also knows that there are things that happen behind the scenes that are worthy of mention.
a very good thing to do that. Thank you.
I think that was supposed to go on the next section, written communication.
Well, not really, because it wasn't for the commission. It wasn't like the staff. It was us personally. Okay. Next item, please.
Item 7, written communications. There are none.
So I'd like to adjourn this meeting in the memory of Rima Abedi Salveyan.